Hello, and welcome back to Learning the Good Life. In today's episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about how and why we ended up here. What it was that led us to take the decision to move from southern England to northeast Scotland. Why here, and why a place like this. All the while, I need to split some kindling while I sit in one of my kids' old chairs that they long since have outgrown. So come and join me by the log pile for a little chat. I need to split some kindling because we're out, so I thought I'd let you see that process of how I do that. I think probably just a bucket's worth is going to do me, because I think it's probably only a couple of weeks left of us burning the log burner in the evenings. So just a little bit of kindling, and I'm going to take over another load of firewood just to make sure we've got enough to be going on with. And I thought while I was doing it, I might just have a chat about what it is we're doing here, why I find myself here in northeast Scotland next to a log pile, talking to a camera. So I haven't planned anything, I'm just going to speak so you can judge for yourself by how many jump cuts there are, how much waffle I did, and how many tangents I went off on. But I'll try to keep it to the point. First of all, I need to just collect some firewood to make into kindling, which I'll pile up here. So let's get that done first. So, lots of stuff gets covered in pigeon poo here, but as a tree surgeon friend of mine said, it all adds to the calorific burn of the wood. So, I'll take his word for it. So what I always do, I've got a bushcraft knife that sometimes, when I'm making very fine kindling, I'll put the knife in and I'll bang it in with my little homemade mallet here. But unrelated to that, I did end up in A&E last year because of that bushcraft knife. It's very sharp. It wasn't due to my kindling, which I do, my kindling splitting, which I do very safely, I like to think. But I just picked it up and it was attached to it's got a little cord on it, and I picked it up by the cord, which is, I've now learned, a silly thing to do. I picked it up by the cord and it swung round and it just hit my other hand, which was not begloved. Another very important lesson, always keep your gloves on when you're handling anything sharp and wood and stuff like that. So that was a very quick stint in A&E that I could have done without, and I could have avoided. And maybe you can too, if you listen to the voice of experience, bitter experience. So the very first thing to do is to make a first cut. Now some of this stuff splits better than others, but anyway, I'm going to try and get a nice flat bit here that then I split that way. Now there are loads of different techniques to doing this. This is just the one that I'm doing at the moment. I might try other stuff in the future. Feel free, if you want to leave me a comment suggesting something, by all means. Do. Anyway, I use this to keep my left hand out of the way. It's referred rather archaically, I think, to as a sissy stick. I think it needs a better term. It's a sensible stick is what I would call it. So you keep that there to hold your piece of wood, keep your stuff out of the way, and we hope that this one splits. Well, that's a hard bit of wood. Some of this has been out here weathering for quite some time. Where was my bit? I've even lost my bit. Oh, it's here. So sometimes I get out the bigger guns. Over here I've got a splitting axe called a maul, the yellow one, and just an axe, a chopping axe, which is the wooden one. So we'll try this again. See if I can get this piece off. Yeah, that's coming. Give it another whack there, it should come. So then, I've got my nice flat bit. And then I simply go along making nice bits. Now I try and get them as small as possible. It's not always possible. But now that I've got one that size, that's going to replace my sissy stick, and that is a bit too big. It has to be used for that. I just needed to get it started. So now I've got a sissy stick. I may even get a smaller one later, but what I can do is hold it a lot more delicately there, split it down. See, even if I just get bits like that, it's fine. It all burns the same, eh? So why am I here? Why are we here? Becky and I met at university in London, and had a jolly old time there, and then we moved in together, got married, had some kids, and all the while we harboured a dream that we developed together very early on to move to the country and live a bit more sustainably. And we didn't use those buzzwords like sustainable or off-grid or anything like that. Basically, in our early 20s, we watched a lot of programmes like River Cottage and Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall. There's no two ways about it. He's a hero of mine. He's brilliant. And that programme in particular, but other similar ones, really inspired us and made us want to give it a go. I mean, the thing that I love the most about all of that is the idea of just giving it a go and feeling like even if you weren't born on a farm or born into a family that owns land or that has a countryside lifestyle, that you can still do it. I was very much an urbanite. I mean, I grew up in suburbia. I wasn't fully a city boy, but there was countryside around us. But I just started to crave a little bit more, growing my own food, maybe raising our own meat, which we haven't done yet, but we're sort of on that pathway now, I think. We're discussing perhaps getting some pigs and raising them for slaughter. Just about convince the kids that that's okay to do. That's a dream that I had. Becky also developed it and started loving that program. One of the many reasons that I love her and wanted to marry her was that we've got lots of similar priorities and values in life. And she has dreamt of a lifestyle like this for many years as well. She, career-wise, has what I would term a proper job. She is a very successful person who works in the financial field, let's put it that way. She's always worked, she worked in the city, you know, she was working in Surrey for many years, and that's where we moved to here from. We lived in Surrey in a very lovely but small Victorian cottage. I'm demonstrating here how terrible I am at multitasking, by the way. I must keep chopping. And in that Surrey cottage, where we spent lockdown, we were already thinking, this has been a dream of ours for many years before COVID, but during that time we were lucky enough to have a very big garden there, so we were fine. We had a better lockdown than many people did, and the kids came through with flying colours, and I was very impressed with how they dealt with the whole thing. But then after that, it really sort of crystallised our view, and we thought, what are we waiting for? Why are we paying an extortionate mortgage to live in a tiny house on a main road that just so happens to be commutable to a town where neither of us works? By then, Becky wasn't working in London, so why are we paying for the London property value? So we decided to push go and thought, sod it, let's do it. One of the things that helped us take that plunge was that through Becky's job, we'd been fortunate enough a few years prior to COVID to live in Belgium for 2 years. And obviously, when you move to a foreign country, you don't know what to expect. And we lived in a rural area just outside Brussels in Flemish Brabant. And if you haven't been, go to Belgium. It's an absolutely brilliant country. And we had such a great time there. And yes, we were away from friends and family and sort of isolated and on our own, but we made a lovely network of friends while we were there. And I think that experience probably galvanised us further and made us realise it's not too scary being miles away from anyone. And as long as we've got each other and our 2 kids and the internet to stay in touch, and people are willing to come and visit, and thank you to our friends and family who have come and visit so far. We know it's miles away from where most of you live, and we really appreciate the chance to see you. But yeah, we figured well, if not now, when? And we wanted to do any move we did, we wanted to do before my eldest child went to secondary school, and we did. So we needed somewhere to go to. Right, so why are we in northeast Scotland? So initially, we were thinking of moving out west to the West Country. We've always loved Cornwall, Devon, Somerset. We've always done Airbnbs there, and you know. Then we realised very quickly that that's exactly what everyone else was thinking after COVID, and you don't get as much value for money as you used to down those parts. Beautiful as it is, and if you live there, kudos. It's a great part of the country to live. But we figured it's very busy in the summer with all the tourism, and the roads get snarled up. And one of the things that we wanted to, punctuating myself with this, one of the things that we wanted to get away from was all of the traffic down south, and cars, and you can never get parked anywhere and all that stuff. And it was just, everything just felt very overcrowded. So we knew we wanted somewhere that wasn't crowded and that had a slower pace of life. And we came to realise that, for us at least, the West Country wasn't that. So we thought, well, let's go somewhere else then. As you may know, I'm a self-employed freelance composer. I work for multiple clients across mainly the TV industry. So I have always worked from home. I've always worked out of my home studio, and I can live pretty much anywhere. So that's one tick in our box for moving away from London. After COVID, Becky decided that she liked being at home and seeing more of the kids and having that sort of freedom to balance her life the way she saw fit. She's very motivated, she's very good at her job, she's very good at and diligent at doing her job and making sure she functions at a high rate, even if she's working from home. And so she put herself out there and got a remote job, and now works for a brilliant company who really value her, who can see just how hard she works, and it's working for us absolutely brilliantly. Yeah, that side of things is really, really great. So we could have gone pretty much anywhere. Once she got that job, that sort of unlocked our ability to go anywhere. Come on. There you go. We needed somewhere to go, and we started talking about Scotland. Becky's got Scottish blood in her family. I've got some distantly, I believe. I'm mainly Irish, if you go back a few generations. Obviously I was born in England, I'm English, but yeah, I've just always seen myself more as British, a child of the UK. I know that there are people in Scotland who feel very differently about the English, but honestly, in fact all of the wonderful Scottish people we've met since we moved up here, and all across Scotland, have just been lovely and aren't, unnecessarily biased towards the English, at least not to our faces, so that's lovely, because we love them, so we hope that they love us, or at least tolerate us. Yeah, so I loved Scotland. I went as a boy a few times, and as a young man, going to the Edinburgh Festival was very cool, very fun, and that made me fall in love with Edinburgh. We went on holiday as a couple to the Borders, and then we started sort of thinking, all right, well, why not? Let's look at Scotland then. And then we spent about a year falling more and more in love with that idea and watching as many documentaries, doing as much research as possible about Scotland. And we came on a couple of holidays. I had been recommended by a friend of a friend to have a look at the northeast coast. So the Moray Firth, Moray coast. Didn't know anything about it, never been here. But when we were up in Aberdeenshire, we thought, well, might as well just drive the extra hour up and just check it out, and we did. And we fell instantly in love. It's got everything. It's got beautiful scenery, coast, It's got mountains, the Cairngorms are right there. It's got woodland. We're on what's called a fertile coastal plain, so there's lots of farms and growing going on here. And it's also got this microclimate. It's in the rain shadow of the Grampian Mountains, so it doesn't get an inordinate amount of rain, not like the west coast of Scotland does. Everyone thinks the whole of Scotland is rainy and cold. It's not true. On the east here, we don't get as much. We get rain, of course we do. In fact, today it's quite drizzly. There's a great Scots word, dreich. Dreich means sort of grey, drizzly, a bit miserable. That's what it's like today, even though it's fairly mild and spring-like. We don't get too much rain, and in fact, compared to where we lived in Reigate, which is where we were in Surrey, we get just about the same annual rainfall here, and slightly more hours of sunlight, I think it is. So, weather-wise, we're not that different, it's just a few degrees colder, which I don't mind. I do better in cold weather than I do in the heat. I'm not very good in the heat. And you wouldn't move to northeast Scotland if that wasn't the case. Anyway, so we sort of fell in love with this, and we thought, actually, funnily enough, it sort of gave us Belgium vibes. A little bit. It just made, I don't know if I could put my finger on what it is, but it sort of, it just made us, I guess it just made us feel the way we felt when we lived in Belgium. That's probably all I can do to put my finger on it. It was just a lovely vibe to the place. So we really loved it and sort of thought, okay, let's check that out. But when we know that we want to live here, the next big thing, as I said, was the schools. And I had to go away and do some research and find, I want to send my kids to a decent school, you know? And so along this whole bit of coast, I did some research and I found one that I liked, and was very well regarded. I kept looking, I kept doing some research. I liked the town where it was, I liked what was near it, and we thought, okay, well that looks nice. We came up again and had another look for some property. Didn't find anything, but we were getting close to wanting to move, and we'd already put our house on the market, so I came up on my own a week after that and had a look around, and I found this place on that visit. And initially, when we saw it, we'd immediately swiped right. No, that's Tinder, isn't it? We'd immediately discounted it because of all these farm buildings. I mean, this one belongs to us. That one doesn't, it's farmed. And we thought, oh, we don't want to be right next to farming going on. And I'm glad that we didn't get sucked down that road, because A, it's really cool. If you're interested in farming, which I am, it's really cool to see stuff going on. And there isn't loads of noise. You can probably hear sometimes the cows. There's the odd tractor. I mean, you know, we're in the countryside. We're in farming territory. Of course there's going to be farming all around. So I'm really, really glad we didn't let that stick, that objection. And we saw the place, and if you've watched the tour of this place, and if you haven't, after this, go and watch it, the tour of our 8-acre homestead, you'll see that farm buildings or no, over there, the rest of it is just idyllic. It's crazily beautiful here. And I took one look round, and the house needed quite a lot of work doing, still does. But it's one of those things where you go, we can manage that over time, we can save up, we can accept that it's not going to be a beautiful house straight away because of all of this. And this ties in so well with mine and Becky's dream that we've had for over 20 years now. So we just couldn't not do it. And after many pictures and videos, I showed Becky that night. I went back to my hotel, had a conversation with her. She convinced me to go for it, and before we knew it, we decided to move here. And there followed, anyone who's bought a house in the UK will know, especially if you're going from England to Scotland, there's slightly different setups. It took ages. It was 6 months of my life that I don't care to visit. Lots of stress involved, lots of people not doing what they said they'd do and all that stuff. But anyway, we're clear of that. We're through it all. We're here now. And 6 months later, we moved here and they still hadn't seen it. That's the key thing I want you to remember, that I was the only one who had been here. And I was terrified, as was Becky, that her and all the kids wouldn't fall in love with it the way I had in person. But they did. They absolutely did. So yeah, crazy, right? Buying a house with only one of you having seen it in person. Anyway, that's why we ended up here. And our homesteading journey began. So maybe I'll just talk quickly about homesteading. In the UK, sometimes we say smallholding. It's an interchangeable term as far as I can tell. A smallholding, a homestead. I just much prefer the term homestead. It literally means home place. And it comes with the idea of raising your own livestock and with your own, providing your own food, doing stuff yourself. You know, what these days it's trendy to call off-grid sustainable, all that stuff. It's kind of how everyone's lived until the 20th century came along, since time immemorial. And let's get one thing clear. We're somewhere between hobbyists and full off-grid. We're taking it more seriously than just hobbyists, and we want to design our life to include a lot more sustainable practices. But we are not fully off-grid, and I doubt we'll ever be fully off-grid. This place is on the mains water, although we do have a borehole that we're going to link up to protect ourselves for the future. We are on grid, but we've got the solar panels, and we might well get some more. It'd be good to put some out there. We've got the space. It'd be great to maybe make more of our own energy. We're more serious than people who just do it at weekends, but we're not fully. Like, it's not a religion to us, it's not the be-all and end-all. I don't want to go completely off-grid, but I would like to bring as much of it into my life as possible. And my theory is that I'm probably in the majority there. I think the number of people who are exploring this way of living or are exploring ways of bringing more of it into their life is increasing. I think it's becoming clearer to some people, certainly to me, that you don't have to go the whole hog. You can bring in a few things into your world, into your life, that, you know, it doesn't even have to mean that you're reducing your carbon footprint or that you're completely changing the way you do things, you know, like you're never allowed to shop at a supermarket again. We get a weekly food shop, of course we do. We're not growing enough yet of our own stuff. But what you can do is just dip your toe in the water and do stuff that makes you feel good. And boy, does it make us feel good when we're harvesting our own food. And I'm going to be showing you a lot of that this year, and cooking with it, and, you know, all of that stuff. And, you know, providing heat from your own wood. It's my own wood that grew on my land, that, you know, that bit of work, bit of time, chatting to a camera while I do it. And when we're cozying up in the evenings and it's been a chilly night and I get the fire going, it feels really good to just think that I'm feeling that heat and my kids are feeling that heat, Becky's feeling that heat because of work I've done, not because of flicking a switch, you know, and paying some money to someone to do so. You know, that side of it is just a real pleasure. So it's about pleasure, it's about taking joy in nature and doing stuff that we want to do and not doing stuff that we don't want to do. So I hope that sort of clarifies where I'm at on my homesteading journey. Slightly more than a complete novice, quite a lot less than a master. That's what I would say. Just enjoying the adventure. It's a journey, right? Not a destination. In terms of the destination, I'm already here. So that's homesteading. going to do a second bucket because I'm quite enjoying this. So I guess the last thing to mention would be how much time does it all take? Well, the answer is how long's a piece of string? It can take as long or as little as you want it to a degree. That's one of the reasons we're not overstretching ourselves. Certainly not these first few years. We're just sort of trying things out, seeing what we can make work. So I'm self-employed, as well as making it so that I've always been able to be around for my kids. It means that I can spend the necessary time on other stuff if I so choose, because my work is, as I say, very ineffable. So I will have weeks where I'm spending ages, mixing tracks, getting mix downs done for a client, working with a client with notes, and just, being completely hidebound by that. And other weeks where no one's asking me to do anything, which again is both good and bad, isn't it? But what this place allows is for me to fill my time when I'm not too busy with work with all of these projects, all these homesteading projects and stuff like this. Today it's a Sunday. I don't tend to do a lot of stuff at the weekends. We keep that for the kids. But literally I've just come out here for like less than an hour, have a little chat with you. I'm going in a second. We're going to do a family movie afternoon. We're going to watch Moana 2. So the balance of life is pretty good in terms of family life. Yeah, that's how I split my time really. I'd say that 50% of the time I'm doing stuff related to my job, and 50% of the time I'm doing stuff for the house. So now we're in mowing season, a good day each week. Well, every couple of weeks at first, but a good day will be spent on the mower, looking after the lawns, all the bits of grass. But the trade-off for that is, A, we don't have to pay someone to do it, and we get the benefit of all of that beauty and all those lovely spaces. So it's worth spending time on. It's worth me giving that part of my life over to, and I quite enjoy it too. It's hardly a chore. It's like this. I quite enjoy working with firewood. I always have. Yeah, so that's how I split it. It's obviously again a seasonal thing. There's more jobs inside in the winter, more jobs outside this time of year, and going forward into summer. But I definitely realise how fortunate I am, and Becky is now that she's remote as well, to be able to pick and choose what I do with my days to a degree. To a degree I can pick and choose. Obviously it's dictated a lot by Mother Nature. Like on a mowing day, I have to wait for it to be clear. So I might have put some time aside to mow, and then it's going to rain. It suddenly is going to rain the next day. I can't do that, and I've got to figure out something else to do. An indoor job, like for example, I've got a wall of our new bathroom to paint. Probably within the next week or two. I'll be doing that on a rainy day. Yeah, so anyway, it works. It works. And Becky does lots of stuff in amongst her job. She does stuff at lunch, after work, and she does a lot of the weekends with me, as you've seen. We get up to all sorts of mayhem in and around the greenhouse, trying to grow some food, trying to make sense of this place. But yeah, it's, do you know what? All I would say so far is it's working for us. And I've never been happier. Becky's never been happier. Yes, there are challenges galore. I put my back out last year doing some stuff with the compost, just digging compost, and that was me out of action for a couple of months. And so you've got to be careful. You've got to look after yourself. Challenges abound, but it is so rewarding. It really is, and all I can do is just make sure I keep at it. Just keep at it, don't let anything go for too long. That's the biggest thing I've learned in the first 2 years, is just keep going. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't let yourself become overwhelmed, because there will forever be a to-do list as long as your arm, twice as long as your arm, as 5 people's arms. There will always be that long to-do list. So just accept that and do what you can, and try and enjoy what you're doing while you're doing it. Of course, I'm not going to enjoy every single job that is required of me here, but I try and take pleasure where it can be taken. And for the most part, it can always be taken. Certainly in a job like this. I'm just sitting out in nature, chopping up some firewood, having a chat. So it's lovely. And yeah, it's lovely to watch our kids enjoying this place, thriving. And that's worth a bit of hard work. It really is worth it. And the hard work keeps me fitter than I would otherwise be, being sedentary all the time, and it keeps me outdoors. Obviously, it's very good for one's mental health, living somewhere like this and getting out in nature a lot. So yeah, I don't know why I'm telling you all this, just by way of saying, I guess, this is who we are, this is why we're doing this, and filming it and putting it out for posterity is really, it started off as my desire to keep track of all the work we're doing here and the way we're developing it, and, you know, just to be able to look back on how it used to look before we did this job or before we changed that and all of that stuff, to keep a record. And I realised, well, if I'm doing all the jobs anyway, and if I want to film it to keep a record anyway, I might as well start a YouTube channel and put it all out there. I know people like watching stuff like this, because I'm one of them. I love watching a guy just chop some firewood for a bit. It's really relaxing. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And I think this is going to be enough to be going on with. So I might go and start a fire and get Moana 2 on with the family. And I'll talk to you soon. See you next time.
Here's what to watch next. Rescuing a dying orchard, protecting fruit saplings from deer, behind the scenes of how I mow all of these 8 acres. And if you haven't yet taken the full tour, come and jump on the ride-on mower with me as I take you around this idyllic setting. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Learning the Good Life.